Barry George Rubery was born on August 16, 1941. In 2010, 68-year-old Barry was a retired civil engineer and farm laborer in Gloucestershire, England. He was a father, grandfather, and a member of the Masons. Unfortunately, that same year, a horrible tragedy would occur. On April 28, 2010, Barry attended a dinner at his local Masons Lodge. Afterward, he got a ride home with friends and was dropped off at about 10:45 p.m., never to be seen alive again. The following morning, a friend came by his home and shockingly found him face down, dead on the porch. He was found with his hands and legs bound together with metal wire, electrical flex, and plastic cables. After he was tied up, he was beaten to death. Investigators believe whoever murdered him had waited for him to return home that night and knew he usually entered through the back door. An autopsy revealed multiple defense injuries, suggesting he and the assailant struggled in the backyard before his murder, and his ultimate cause of death was a fatal injury to the head. The attacker or attackers had ransacked the house and stole his gold Masonic pocket watch, an old Makita drill, keys, and a Nokia 3310 mobile phone. However, they left behind many valuable items, such as cash, jewelry, and a safe they had discovered behind a pitcher. His murder left many in the community baffled because Barry was such a well-liked and well-respected individual. On his property, he rented out storage units, and some have theorized that he was murdered over a disagreement with some of those renters. It was also reported that he had been concerned about a group of people constantly in his yard. It's possible that the group of people being referenced were renting a storage unit. 2 years later, investigators released a photo of a shoe print that was found at the scene. It's thought that the print came from someone wearing a pair of Nike tennis shoes. A black Land Rover or Mitsubishi L200 was also seen in the area around the time of the murder, but that vehicle has never been located, and it's unclear if it had anything to do with the murder. In 2014, they had a possible break in the case when two men ages 19 and 30 were arrested in connection with Barry's case, but not long after, both were released without charges. Barry was killed in cold blood on April 28, 2010, and as of October 2024, this case remains unsolved. Charles Mauk Jr. was born to parents Charles Mauk Sr. and Kathy Miller on May 29, 1972, and went by Chuck or Chucky. In early 1986, 13-year-old Chucky lived behind the Freedom Lanes bowling alley in Warner Robins, Georgia, with his mother, younger brother Greg, and stepfather Pete. He was described as a very energetic kid who never met a stranger. He loved sports, especially baseball, and riding his BMX bike, and was said to be very good at it. He also loved motorcycles and was able to build his own. Since they lived behind a bowling alley, he spent a lot of time hanging out there and playing arcade games such as Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Joust, and Missile Command. He was a brilliant child whose life was sadly cut short by an evil monster. On the evening of February 17, 1986, he was out riding his bike with friends in the neighborhood. Around 8 p.m., he ran into the giant food store to buy a pack of bubble gum for school the next day. At 8:15 p.m., with the gum in hand, he got back on his bike and started riding back home when he was randomly shot. A young girl in the neighborhood witnessed the shooting, which had struck Chucky in the back of the head, and quickly went to his house and notified his mother and stepfather. Kathy and Pete quickly ran to the nearby parking lot at Roy and Rose's restaurant, where Chucky lay dead on the ground. Sadly, the bullet had killed him instantly, and paramedics were unable to save him. A friend of his named Chris Panazchek came forward and said he was in a car with his sister, and when they stopped at a stoplight, he saw Chucky in a parking lot talking to a man in a white two-door sedan. He said he appeared to be talking and laughing with the man. As they drove off, he saw Chucky reposition his bike to ride away. However, when he looked back one last time, he saw Chucky now lying on the ground. At the time, he and his sister thought he was just playing around, but after learning of his death, they realized that was the moment he was shot. They probably would have heard the gunshot if their radio hadn't been up so loud. The sister was later hypnotized 3 times in order to produce a sketch of the suspect, but I'm assuming this was unsuccessful since I couldn't find the sketch. Regardless, the man in the white car has never been found. Chucky was killed in cold blood on February 17, 1986, and as of October 2024, this case remains unsolved. Jacqueline Elaine Nix was born on December 17, 1980, and went by her middle name. Her parents described her as a little firecracker who loved life and wanted to become a nurse. In 1999, 18-year-old Elaine was living with her parents in Gainesville, Georgia, and dating a man named Billy Millwood. So she could know when Billy would call her, she had her home phone programmed to send alerts to her pager when he would leave a message. On September 20th, 1999, sometime after 10 p.m., she received an angry message from Billy and drove 2 miles to Zach's food rack to use their payphone, as she often did because Billy's home was a long-distance call. She had to do this because she ran up a $75 phone bill, which upset her mother, Becky. In order to prevent this, Becky had long-distance calling blocked. However, she could spend 35 cents on the payphone and talk as long as she wanted to. She arrived at the convenience store at about 11 p.m., and the two spoke on the phone for about an hour, most likely resolving their issue. After Elaine hung up, she strangely disappeared and was never seen alive again. Unfortunately, that area was poorly lit and not directly in the line of sight of the convenience store surveillance cameras. The following morning, when Elaine had not returned home, her parents went out looking for her and found her car still at the convenience store. They checked with the store clerk, but she said she didn't see anything. They also called Billy, but he said nothing strange happened during their call. Not realizing the severity of the situation, Becky drove Elaine's car home, but as she was pulling into their driveway, it hit her that something was seriously wrong. 9 days later, workers in an industrial park in Beaufort, Georgia, about 17 miles away, found Elaine's nude body in the woods. While she still had her jewelry on, the clothes she had been wearing were nowhere to be found. As for her cause of death, the medical examiner determined she had been either strangled or smothered to death, but there were no apparent signs of a sexual assault. Elaine was abducted and murdered on September 20th, 1999, and as of October 2024, this case remains unsolved. James Lubin Valdez was born on October 25, 1973, and went by Jamie. By the time he was 47, he had a daughter from a previous relationship who lived in Ozark, Arkansas, and was dating a woman named Anna Jenkins. He wanted to marry her, but she refused unless he could quit meth for an entire year, and that's exactly what he did. After completing rehab, they married and moved in with Anna's mother in Booneville, Arkansas. Anna's brother, Larry Carter, also lived in the home. However, 1 month after the wedding, Jamie strangely disappeared. On June 9, 2021, he and Anna got into an argument after she agreed to take an extra shift at the nearby gas station where she worked. Jamie was allegedly angry because it was supposed to be her day off, but her boss had called and asked for help. However, others say he was angry because he worked hard to get sober and Anna had just fallen off the wagon. While she was getting ready, Jamie threw some clothes in his car and left, saying he was headed to Ozark where his daughter lived. However, after she arrived at work, she said Jamie showed up and allegedly asked if he could return to their home. She responded by telling him to do whatever he wanted. He went on to Ozark and was seen having dinner with friends 2 days later. He told them he was headed back to Booneville, but allegedly never arrived and was never heard from again. A little over a week later, on June 19th, the car Jamie was driving, a 2010 Chevrolet Equinox, was found abandoned on the side of a dirt road by Anna's boss's husband's home in Sugar Grove, Arkansas, about 10 miles from Booneville. The husband said he stumbled upon it by accident while visiting the family's nearby cemetery. He immediately knew it was Jamie's. While it seemed strange for the car to be out there, Jamie did grow up there and knew the rural area pretty well. Plus, the car was located near a spot called the Swimming Hole. When the car was found, it was locked, the driver's seat was moved all the way forward, and the seat had a rip in it, like someone was holding on to it while they were being pulled from the car. Missing were his keys, cell phone, a .40 caliber Glock handgun, and some clothes he supposedly kept in the truck. The husband also found the words, "He is near, help me," written in the dirt on the back windshield. Thankfully, Anna took a photo because rain washed it off before the police arrived. Anna took multiple photos and sent them to Jamie's oldest sister, asking if she could notify the police, to which his sister said yes. The area was searched, but no sign of Jamie was found. They did, however, find his health insurance card and some receipts about 100 feet from the car. Parts of the car's engine had also been strangely tampered with. Some believe Anna's brother Larry murdered him. He was known as a shady person who had spent 7 years in prison from 2001 to 2008 for kidnapping and attempted murder. He and a group of guys had nearly beaten a man to death before taking him to a bridge and hanging him from it. Thankfully, the man survived. After Jamie disappeared, Larry assaulted his ex-wife and best friend after he tried to get Larry off of her. He then tried to attack the friend with a pipe. He eventually fled the scene in his ex's car after one of the kids called the police. For that crime, he was simply given probation, which he already violated when investigators searched his house and found drugs inside. Some don't believe that Anna has given investigators the correct timeline and say she has changed her story more than once. She did say, though, that after speaking with Jamie at the gas station, he returned home, packed some clothes, got $600 in cash from Anna's mom, and left in the Equinox. Could he have used that money to relapse? During an interview with Anna by a podcaster and family advocate, they discovered she had his old iPhone, and it was still connected to the cloud. From there, they were able to determine the last location of his iPhone 11 and provided it to investigators. Unfortunately, the area was searched, but nothing was found. During the investigation, detectives received some good and bad information. The bad was the alleged sighting by John Farley. He allegedly saw Jamie walking with a man named Tom Reed, carrying an armful of clothes. However, when Tom was questioned, he denied knowing Jamie. It turned out to be a case of mistaken identity. John realized the man with Tom wasn't Jamie after the chief of police showed him a photo of him. Some good information was when they solved the mystery behind the words on the back windshield that read, "Help me, he is near." It turns out that a group of 4 teenagers saw the Equinox at the location where it was ultimately found 2 days before the husband discovered it, and 2 of them admitted to writing that. They also explained that they were out there to swim at the swimming hole, and when they first saw the car, it was running with a man sitting inside. However, when they returned, the car was off and the man was gone. However, the car is on was a narrative pushed by the chief of police, but allegedly, the teens told people the car was off both times they saw it. Here's where things get even stranger. Anna was asked if the Equinox had OnStar, but she said it didn't. However, his family reached out to Chevrolet and were told that starting in 2008, all their vehicles included it. Then, the chief of police, who personally knew Anna, quickly gave the car back to her, never processing it for evidence. They knew each other because she had lived a year of her life with the chief's family when he was 9 and she was 18. It was also discovered that on the day the car was found, Anna had been trying to sell it to a used car dealer, but police got there first. Anna then told Jamie's sister in late 2021 that she received a Facebook message from a lady claiming to have found chunks of flesh at a place called Persimmon Point. However, she wouldn't give the lady's name. His sister eventually figured out who the lady was and spoke with her directly. She asked the woman about the 3 or 4 different pieces she found, and the lady said she found more than that. She found 2 small body parts wrapped in some newspaper, a finger and a nipple. It made her sick, so she got her boyfriend to take her to a pharmacy to get some medicine. On her way out, she saw an officer and told him what she found. However, no report was written about it, and it's unclear if they ever even checked into it. Some believe these pieces were part of Jamie's remains. There were also rumors that Jamie had been seen at a casino in Oklahoma. Investigators checked it out, but security at the casino was friends with Jamie and said he had not been there. Jamie stood 5'9" to 5'10", with brown hair and brown eyes. He has a tattoo with Sierra written on his left arm and a mole on his left cheek. When he disappeared, he may have been wearing black checkered shorts, tennis shoes, and a black baseball cap. James Valdez, who went by Jamie, went missing in June 2021 from Booneville, Arkansas, and as of October 2024, he has never been found, and this case remains unsolved. Gerald Hall was born in February of 1953 and went by Jerry. In 1988, 35-year-old Jerry was a father of 2 daughters living in Hardy, Arkansas with his girlfriend. He was also in the middle of a divorce and didn't own a vehicle. He had a slight drinking problem and hitchhiked around town. In the fall of that year, he strangely disappeared. Sadly, on October 15, 1988, in Leesburg, Missouri, deer hunters found him face down in the woods off I-44. His body had suffered severe trauma, and he was shot to death. Over the years, a couple of different stories have been told about what happened to Jerry. One story is that he was hitchhiking to visit his daughter Jessica, while another story is that he was hitchhiking to buy alcohol. A third story said he got into a heated argument with a man while hitchhiking. Allegedly, Jerry came upon an elderly man with a flat tire and stopped to help. While changing the tire, a car swerved and almost hit the elderly man. Jerry confronted the 2 men in the car, and a fight broke out. The elderly man fled to a gas station and called the police, but by the time they arrived, Jerry and the 2 other men were gone. The 2 men most likely abducted him because a couple that was out driving spotted 2 men driving erratically and then witnessed a man being thrown out of the vehicle and dragged by the car. This is the most plausible theory and makes the most sense considering the trauma his body had suffered. Jerry was found murdered on October 15, 1988, and as of October 2024, this case remains unsolved.